Oh, hey, hey. Yeah, I decided I was going to do the Q&A live because every time I tried filming and then trying to upload, something got messed up, and I was just like, at some point, you just gotta say fuck it and just do it the other way that you don't like as much, but it'll get it done. And I need to balance this on something higher. There we go. That's doing better until a cat comes over and knocks it down. Oh. So, hold on. Gonna get some Sage going, maybe. It's streaming yesterday and my comp. Oh, yeah, I did see Dorian's video. So that's the first question I've answered, and I think that's it for the night. End of Q&A. No, I'm not gonna get out the lights for no reason like that. So this is not what I wanted. There we go. Do we want to wait until we have more people, or should I just start answering things now and let the archive stream feature sort it out? Hey! Anything else I need to see? Day's going generally all right. Generally all right, all things considered. So, just, serious? This is my day today? So I'm just, what is this? Right, this is, for darning my socks. Yeah, that's a decent one to use for this. So I'm going to get to the Q&A. I just want to get a start on a couple of chores first. Did this one even need? Yes, it did. Okay. Okay, we've got 10 people to start. I guess I'll get a start on the questions after I pull this. There we go. Okay, so yeah, if I see more questions coming up, I will answer anything that people want to ask. Well, almost anything. I mean, some stuff off limits. Got to leave a little bit of air of mystery to all of that. But so let's see. Peaches and Cream Pie, they asked, you've gone over how the goth scene has changed and the a-holes who go become a sellout. Do you ever feel about abandoning the goth community? P.S. Michigan represents. So, yeah, I've got a story about this, and I know at least one of you on right now has looked back and saw my Ungoth Confessions video, because you made a comment on it, and you've announced your presence to me. So, for basically what amounts to mental health reasons, I did take a few years off from both the Metro Detroit goth industrial club scene, as well as the internet goth presence. Hi, Kitty. What are you doing? Are you being in my way? Just a little bit. And I took a few years off from that. Like I said, generally, long story short, for mental health reasons. And in the end, I ended up coming back because at some point, I just, acknowledged that I still kept listening to all the music, my big ones during that period that I kept listening to. Support Turnus, Sex Gang Children, Virgin Prunes, just about anything with Roz Williams, of course, with the tattoo. And but during that time I took off, I was involved in the local mod revival and tradskin rude boy community. So when I say tradskin, I'm talking like, people who got into it before neo-Nazis started appropriating that in the 70s. I'd say was probably the beginning of that, even though some like to deny that and blame it all on the states. But no, like National Front got heavily involved. There's a bit of something that the history on that is touched on in the film This Is England. But yeah, I've always loved 60s rhythm and blues and soul. I grew up in Metro Detroit, so like Motown is in my blood. My dad for a time toured as, and he was a little guy. He was a little guy too, but he was briefly a bodyguard for a guitarist who was touring with a Motown package. And this guy, I ended up meeting this guy just completely on accident when I was briefly living in a welfare hotel outside Gary, Indiana. Kat, will you sit? Will you sit, please? So yeah, I accidentally ran into this guy. I didn't even know who he was, but I go and I'm checking on my mail one day, and he notices the surname McElroy, and he asks, do you know any Ray? You know any Ray McElroy? Not short for Raymond, just Ray. And I say, yeah, that was my father. Oh, was. Who'd he run his mouth off to? And I say, he actually had a brain aneurysm, sir, because my dad had a stroke disorder from a head injury. And the guy still says, yeah, I know. Who'd he run his mouth off to? And I'm just like, okay, yeah, you definitely knew my dad. And, but yeah, there's a big story about that. But, it involves a bar fight and the fact that my dad was a widow when he was 19 years old. Obviously, my mother's not his first wife. And, then what happens? But, so yeah, like I said, I've always loved, soul, 60s rhythm and blues, the Who, the Kinks, and all that. So I got involved in that. I was briefly an alternate DJ at a night that specialized in, that kind of dance music and ska, and I've still got most of those records. There's a couple that I figured I could part with, as you do when you collect records for, oh God, I've been collecting records since I was about 11 or 12. So yeah, that was my story about taking a break from goth. So that question is done. Let me get to anything that people might have asked. Yeah, everybody loves him now. He's like half the personality of this channel. He's half of the person. Self, Nigel, and Phoebe are the other half. I left the goth community myself temporarily. Mental health reasons here too. Oh yeah, I remember your comment about that. People were pressuring me to grow up. Oh God, I hate that. Just yeah, I'll grow up when I'm good and dead. And hello, Angela. I did see you. Recognize the, what the picture passes for from my distance anyway. More of an alternative goth. I don't want to wear all black. Oh, so few of us wear all black all the time. But my husband says my clothes, all my clothes is blue. End of that movie. Oh yeah. This Is England. That was, oh God. Yeah, we were talking about Romper Stomper, a very similar kind of plot the other day, Thursday nights thing. Live stream, that's what they're called. About the same Xavier's, so many things. Yeah. Yeah, we were talking Thursday night, well, Friday in the AM, eventually on my end too, about Romper Stomper and Russell Crowe, and I'm not a huge fan of most of the movies he's been in, but he's one of those actors that will really get into the part and like give it all his own. And much like Raul Julia, and that's how it ended up talking about Russell Crowe. We were talking about Addams Family, and of course Raul Julia comes up, and then actors who just like really, get into it. Like even if they're not like the more common method actors these days, like Nicolas Cage. His acting is based a lot on what's that called, like silent film and pantomime, and he's pulled in influences from Japanese kabuki theater. So yeah, he's got this very stylized way of acting, but he gives it his all, and he makes every part his own. Like, even if the film is objectively crap, he's still entertaining to watch, even if he's very much out of place in it as well. Which is probably how some of them amount to feeling like crap, because it's like, okay, there's this one guy who is just doing everything, and the rest of everybody else has to keep up with him. But so yeah, as far as the Q&A goes, let's see. Do I want to start a sock before? No, I'll start a sock once I start answering the question. Actually, this is one that I had to take notes for because so Radically Dark asked, and I hope she checks this out later because I did get to her questions. She had 3 of them. The first one is one that I had to take notes for, was who are your favorite YouTubers, goth or not? And I decided to do goth and not. But I also decided so that there's, not a whole lot of overlap. And I'm also like always like worried that people are going to feel bad. Like, I don't know. A lot of people saw this on a Sideshow Tink. She said something on a Thursday night's live stream when, because I started that just to like, I don't know, just kind of have this hangout kind of feel to try and calm myself down and wait for the Xanax to kick in. There was a guy at the food pantry who had a seizure, and I tried filming that. I tried filming the groceries I brought home from that, like I've done for the last couple of months, and I couldn't because like my hands were shaking because I'm just worried that this guy's going to be okay. So and that's why I'm rambling and going off topic apparently, because I don't know, I don't want people to feel bad. I don't want them to feel bad. So rather than like naming a few people twice, I decided to like, aside from people who I listed in my favorite elder goths on that video, that what is an elder goth video that I did. So I list about 4 or 5 people plus 2 honorable mentions. One of whom decided to step on my toe today, but that's okay. I don't know. I'm like part entertained and part just like, what the hell? So I listed 4 people here as my favorite, in addition to elder goth YouTubers. Resurrected. She was like the first who came to my mind. If like, I don't know, there might be 2 people on the live stream right now who haven't, who might not be familiar with her. She does a lot of book and literature reviews. She does band spotlights. She's really she's really well known about absinthe reviews and has done a lot of them. And she's been approached by a couple companies, and people misunderstood that about my other video, and I'll get to that in a minute. But it's okay if you're upfront about it. That's what I care about. But so she does a lot of absinthe reviews, and like I said, and she's also studying opera. She's she's got operatic training for voice. I had a little bit of that myself. Way when I was little, but then my mother burned the last of her bridges and I couldn't afford that, so I went back to just like strictly choral training, which I never stopped. It's just I had 15 years in classical training, mostly choral, but I do have training as like a solo recitalist. As a classical, I would be classified as a lyric tenor, whereas she's a dramatic mezzo soprano. And I'm just like mentally jacking off about this. I don't know. I'm really not trying to sound impressive. Because I didn't specifically list her amongst, like a proper list, even though I have plugged her a lot. I do also, like, second on my list would be Radically Dark. If, she's got a relatively tiny audience compared to, basically all of the, bigger goth YouTubers who've been talked about this last week. You're welcome. Radically Dark, she's very young. Oh my god, she's younger than I originally thought. I thought she was like, like maybe closer to 20, but she just turned 18 a few months ago. And she does videos about music with lists of songs, lists of bands. She does a lot of really detailed DIY videos. She'll do thrifting hauls, and she's just really well knowledged. And her knowledge of music and the culture, the goth subculture in general at 18 is about where mine was at about the age of 25 or so. But then again, she's growing up in the age of the internet, so she's got an advantage that I didn't. I had to rely on, in part, my brother-in-law, and honestly, this is why I'm going to do a video about Type O Negative. Peter Steele was a huge champion for goth bands in the 90s, and that's something that a lot of people either forget or don't realize because they were so much younger than me. And so number 3 on my list is Freya Norling. And if you can't find her I don't remember if my subscriptions are public or not, because I've got a few subscriptions that, I don't know. I just don't want the potential fallout if somebody wants to corner me for watching so-and-so. And I'm like, I just want to, some people can present an opinion that I don't always agree with, but they can present it in a way I respect. But at the same time, it's like, I don't want the drama from that. So her name is, it's Freya, I believe. And Norling is spelled about how it sounds. Norling. She is she's done music inspired by fairies and her pagan spirituality. She's a Norse pagan of some variety or another, and she's just got this really so I watch her, kind of as, like a pagan, YouTuber as well. I've mentioned my, pagan spirituality a little bit in some videos. I want to make some more about that, a little bit more in depth. I'm getting some really interesting prompts from watching the Pagan Perspective channel. And but yeah, Freya, she's I can't remember if I found her on the Pagan YouTubers Facebook group or the Goth YouTubers Facebook group. So she does have overlap interest in both and the things she talks about. And honestly, I feel kind of stupid because she is a wonderful person and I love her YouTube channel. But probably my favorite thing about her is, I don't know if it's just if it's like just her voice, because everybody's voice has this, different identifying timbre to it. But, or if it's like, like her timbre plus her accent is somehow Scandinavian. I know she lives up in the just above the Arctic Circle in Norway, which I believe she lives significantly north of Lillehammer. I don't know if she's Norwegian or if she's otherwise Scandinavian, but her voice, it kind of triggers my synesthesia. I'm oral tactile synesthesia, and there are sounds that I feel in certain parts of my body, and organs and aerophones, so organs and accordions. That's one of the reasons that I'm really interested in playing with them, and I'd rather be self-taught in them just because I like to go off how playing it feels, and I feel that a lot in my shoulders. And there's something about her voice that I can feel that that tingling and almost a massaging kind of feeling in my shoulders, like when I'm playing my harmonium or accordion. And I really love that about her. And I mentioned that in a comment one time on a recent-ish video of hers, and she just felt very touched and honored by that. And I feel kind of silly, but that's one of the things I really love about watching her is, it's this comforting kind of feeling that I feel, like in my body. And the other fourth goth YouTuber I really love is Cadaver Kelly. She's got a really she's got a really new YouTube channel. She's got fewer than a dozen videos up now, but it's really promising. She's very informative about the, it's very much an educational goth channel. She's, with these little like Goth 101 kind of things, you know, brief histories of the music and the subculture and going to clubs and all of that. You know, whereas I'm a bit more rambly with some of my, you know, little informative kind of videos, and I still gotta film chapters 2 and 3 of that one series I'm doing. So my non-goth YouTubers who I really love, I got 5 of those, and because I don't want people to feel bad, and I don't really know, like, can I pick out my favorites, because everybody I watch, there's a reason I watch them, and it's usually because I have some amount of respect for what they're doing or what they're trying to do, or, you know, I want to keep up on something for some reason. But I just decided to go with the first 5 that immediately came to mind. So number 1 was Argyle Dinosaur. They are well, they're a fellow Michigander, and they probably first came to my mind because I was reading comments from them, and they were on my live stream when I started writing this. Well, I started writing the list after I logged off the live stream to feed the cats. They do a lot of videos about books and poetry. They're one of the more booktube kind of people. I've really been looking into the whole little like booktube community with people talking about books and reading and poetry and all of that. And, you know, that's kind of peripherally related to my channel because I do I'm doing the Raythu book review series too. So I want to see what other people are talking about with books. And they do a lot of really, really nice videos about that with the especially when they're doing a poetry reading on their video. Like, they'll read out a poem, usually not a very long one, unlike, you know, me, where I will read out all 7 parts of Phantasmagoria by Lewis Carroll just for the hell of it on a live stream, just because why the hell not? And then they'll have like this, you know, they'll like start spitballing little discussion points for the comments. And I like that, you know, they like to have this more like hands-on approach to the book discussions, where you're not just hearing a person rambling about books and stories, but, you know, you're also like, you know, they're actively trying to start a discussion with you about it. So number 2 on my list of favorites that automatically, like, you know, just automatically the first 5 is Chickster's Nest. And that is, I'm under the impression, just based on little things I've seen about the, you know, in their about section, is that this is an LA area cable access show that is simultaneously broadcast live via their YouTube. Okay, and I discovered this through performance artist April Hava Schenkman, who I saw last year, no, I want to say 2017, on The Gong Show, like, yeah, the revival one with Mike Myers doing the Uncanny Valley makeup. It's not what it was when Chuck Barrage, it's Chuck Barrage, right? I don't know, when Chuck was on it, and, you know, still all of that. And, you know, it's obviously not the same as it once was, but I still enjoy it because, you know, they're known for, you know, these, you know, quirky, you know, odd performers. So it's like, I know that, you know, we're never going to see another incarnation of The Gong Show that that votes Mystic Knights of Oingo Boingo as the winner for that episode ever again. But, you know, that was a time and place that existed and passed. But because that's what they're known for, you know, they're going to put on quirky people. So I saw Chuck Berry. Wait, no, Chuck Berry was the guitarist. You know, but they're known for the quirky people, so I tune in for the quirky people. And she was on there. She was doing her performance piece called Pig. You have to find it. You have to find it. You have to find that. And so she put up a trailer for Chickster's Nest on her own YouTube channel. And this is something that she does with her father. And this is like kind of this, it's kind of a send up to you know, like the old vaudeville and early TV chat show kind of things. It's very much a send up to you know, like I said, like vaudeville of the 20s and 30s and early television of the late 40s through 50s, you know, like the chat show. It's got these elements of vaudeville, elements of chat show, and they have these, you know, just bizarre avant-garde kind of performers and people who specialize in early 20th century music. a lot, like as performers of it. So like Tiny Tim would have been right at home as a guest on this show. So that's what I really love about it. And they have a really tiny audience, as best as I can tell. Last time I checked, they had barely 200 subscribers to the YouTube channel for the show. But yeah, I love it. I watch it every chance I get to when it's live, and of course I have to watch, like, I rewatch episodes of that quite frequently. So and the third I put down here was Ask a Mortician, and I know it's kind of a cliche. Chuck Barris. Yeah, that's right, because Chuck Berry, yeah, he's the guitarist, Chuck Berry. Chuck Barrett. What did I say? Chuck Barrett? Something Chuck with a B. And I know it's kind of cliche to like add on Ask a Mortician, but I love Caitlin. I'm actually one of those ultra cliche goths who was actually very fascinated by dead bodies as a small child. One time when I was about 5, I read this book that was written for small children. Well, it was written for 8, 9-year-olds, but that's just how I was reading at that age. And then what happens was I'm reading this book about Egyptian mummies at that age. And after I take the book back to the library, I don't know, a couple days pass, and I see this roadkill squirrel, and I see this piece of scrap wire maybe a few feet from it, and something in my brain hits, and I go and try to pull the brain out like the book on Egyptian mummies for children described. And my mother turns the corner to go down to the 7-Eleven and buy a pack of cigarettes, and she's like, "What are you doing to that squirrel?" And the first thing out of my mouth is, "It was dead when I found it." She says, "I know, I can see that, but you're just so weird." And oh yeah, and I love her. So obviously, I've had this, this morbid curiosity about, dead bodies and stuff from a young age. So of course I have to watch her. And she's delightful, and she makes the best facial expressions and and all of that. And so number 4 that I listed is ContraPoints. And she's just wonderful. She's just wonderful. She's she's the quote unquote SJW who people who are not can listen to. And it's because she's taken this approach of actually trying to be persuasive to people who are genuinely on the fence about certain topics. Like, if your mind is made up, your mind is made up, and there's very little that can change your mind. But a lot of people, there's this stage in between where they're genuinely on the fence and they haven't completely made up their mind. And that's how she tries to approach these things is, she tries to, she aims to have a little bit of humor and that whole, at least making every good faith effort to sound rational, even though that's like you can still make a good argument if you sound irrational, but people, a lot of people will just suddenly turn off if they think you don't sound rational enough. So, and she acknowledged that and works with it rather than against it. And number 5 on, just like I said, my, stream of consciousness list of favorite non-goth YouTubers would be Obsolete Oddity. He does these read-throughs. Like, his is a voiceover channel with slides, and his, he's actually got a pretty sizable subscriber base and audience. Compared to, most of the other people I listed. ContraPoints is probably the hugest that I listed there. I would put Obsolete Oddity. His audience is closer to Ask a Mortician, I think. But yeah, he does these voiceovers. Like, his is a voiceover channel with slides, like I said just 2 minutes ago. And he will go on all of these little obscure topics, usually formerly famous people like Evelyn Nesbit. She was a famous artist and fashion model in the 1890s, 1900s, and but her life was peppered with tragedy. And so he did this episode with a biography about Evelyn Nesbit. And later, because that one was popular enough, he decided to do this giveaway of an old, I believe it was signed photograph of Evelyn Nesbit that he'd found at a junk shop. And so he decided to do a giveaway for that. And he's got this very soothing voice. He's originally from somewhere in Australia, but he's based in Switzerland now with his wife, I believe. I'm not sure, but I know he's originally Australian, based in Switzerland now, and yeah, I just love his little read throughs of these various historical figures who had these unusual and often tragic lives, and that's just about 1 in 3 of his videos ends up in this private playlist of mine called Song Ideas that, like I'll go back to and, pull up something and get these ideas to, like, I don't know. I've got so many like half finished stanzas and verses that I'm like, eventually it's all going to be one big nonsense song. So that's Radically Dark's first question. And here's a good one where I can start darning a sock again. Where'd the needle go? That's not good. Is it there? Yes, it is there. So Radically Dark's second question, she asked, what is your favorite part of the This is garbage. I'm sorry, this is not mendable. That's too big for me. Okay, that's going in the bag. I'm gonna make like sock monkeys, I'm gonna make kittens out of socks, and like, I don't know, about 50% of what I, earn off of those, I'm gonna send it to the Humane Society locally. So then what happens is, so my favorite part of the goth subculture is certainly the music. And, but one thing that I wanted to add to that is my taste in music. So Radically Dark and I were talking in the comments on one of my videos about, I sort of started that with how my taste in music has made a lot of people think I'm older, because apparently some people think she's a little older too. And I mentioned that, back when I was about her age, a lot of people were thinking I was older because my taste in music was about 10 years behind. So, closer to that of somebody 10 years older than somebody my age. But my taste in music seems to be getting progressively older as I get older. So, I would say that like my favorite associated genre of goth music, which like there's more goth music than simply gothic rock. And Angela has said this in at least one of her videos that I'm brain farting on the title of, but just watch all of Angela's videos, just like binge on them for an evening, make yourself some popcorn. She's delightful and very, very sweet, even if, she is very blunt at times. So, but yeah, like as I've been getting older, I would have to say like a lot of my favorites are in the various like dark cabaret kind of sounds like Jeton de Mon, and even those who influenced Jeton de Mon, like Edith Piaf and Billie Holiday and Lee Morse. Oh God, I love Lee Morse. And I can probably make a very sound argument that a lot of goth musicians, like not directly themselves, but have a direct line of influence that goes back to, like Lee Morse and Al Jolson and Helen Kane and a lot of the 20s and 30s singers. But Lee Morse especially, she had this melancholy voice. It's just so beautiful for a 20s and 30s jazz singer and blues singer. And, she's just got this soulful songbird kind of thing. And Nico is a huge favorite. I've really learned to appreciate Leonard Cohen in my old age as well. And so there's that, yes, I love the music the most, but it just keeps getting older. Like before it was goth, it was, Nico and Leonard Cohen and Lee Morse and a whole lot of other people that a lot of younger people are just like, wait, who now? And here I am to be all, like, no, you got to check this out. So Radically Dark's third question is, what was my favorite goth club / event memory? And I don't know, I'm not quite sure how to answer this because, well, ideally, when you get older, you get like so many more memories to choose from. And like I said, I took a few years off from the local club scene for mental health. So um, there's that. That was a thing that happened. So I've got about 3 years that I could have had some good memories as well, but you know, you got to do. Then there's the fact that after I ended my hiatus, I had a lot of chronic pain to deal with, which limits your opportunities to go out and make more memories. So, one goth club that I really miss, and I'm not just saying that because I used to work there, is Labyrinth in Detroit. It was a legit dedicated goth club. Occasionally, to make rent, they would host some other night just for a special event, but and toward the end, they very seldom gave anybody warning about it too. So that really surprised people closing, but that was more due to structural problems because it was in the basement of the Ramada Hotel, now called the Leland Hotel, but at the time it was still called the Ramada under that lease. And on the third floor of the same building is Leland City Club in Detroit, which has been the longest continuously operating goth night in Michigan, possibly in the US. They first opened as it was first just a night as Liedernacht in 1982. Granted, there was a couple years where they just very sparsely had events, but it was all themed around goth and industrial music. But they're back as, a weekly club in the last 5 years, I want to say. My friends Jay and David, Jay Misanthropia and David, also known as DJ Scary Guy in Detroit, they have busted their asses to, bring City Club back up to something that is comparable to its 98 through 2003 glory and heyday. But yeah, like there's been a goth night operating in that City Club location continuously since 1982, and a lot of people aren't aware of that. Like Nocturne in Chicago gets a lot of credit for being, one of the oldest continuously running goth nights. And like Nocturna, for a while it was weekly, but then it's become monthly in recent years. And that's great. It's wonderful that it's been going this long, but it's only been going, I want to say, since 89. I might be wrong on that. It might only be since the early mid 90s. But like City Club, at least that location, has had a goth night since maybe a year or two after the Batcave opened up, and it has been based around dark punk music and and early gothic rock since 82. And but yeah, like Labyrinth was my favorite. It was a smaller venue. It was dedicated as a goth club before City Club just finally became a dedicated goth club, though that was maybe a year after Labyrinth opened as a venue. And okay, so this is the sock with the hole in it, right? And I miss it. Like I said, it was a smaller venue, so it had that more intimate feel. They definitely had better space for live music, so that is why it opened in the same building, because a lot of people wanted live music, but City Club wasn't very well equipped for live music at the time. So it's not so much that it was, going out of its way to compete. Also, Labyrinth, when it was around, focused a lot more on the old school music, which I was really into at the time, whereas City Club was playing a lot more industrial and synth pop during that 80 or 98 through 2003 heyday that I mentioned. So, I was definitely one of the death rock revivalists during that heyday for that, which, like I said, was around like 98 through 2003. I was very active on the deathrock.com message boards, and I've got another rant in me about how death rock is not actually a genre. It is the local identity for what later became the goth scene in LA. And when it became, when the revival happened, around 98, 99-ish. That was more like an attempt to reinvigorate the underground and, reclaim goth from synth pop and industrial music, uh, or what was passing for industrial music a lot of the time. Uh, I don't know. I'm old school even with my industrial. I definitely prefer the noise kind of stuff like throbbing gristle to EBM and everything. So a goth club that I really miss would be Labyrinth, and probably my favorite event memory would be Convergence 20 in Chicago. That was about 5 years ago this April, and um, and I'm not just saying that because it was the first time I saw March of Violets. Granted, it was the first opportunity in my lifetime that I could have seen March of Violets because they disbanded before, their first disbanding was, I want to say, around 88. So before I was, even aware of goth music. But, Botanic Verses, which was a compilation of early singles, that was one of my more formative goth records. So, of course, seeing them was a huge deal. So, of course, I would have to make it into my, definitely favored memories, if not, most favorite. But, more than just seeing March of Violets and Sunshine Blind uh, and a lot of other bands, Ice Scintilla, Gothsicles, even though I'm never sure know what to make of them. There's some kind of overlap of industrial, like industrial EBM sort of dance music and nerdcore rapping. And I'm just like, I never know what to make of them. I really don't. It's like, I kind of want to like them in the same way I like MC Hawking. On the other hand, I'm just like, what the hell am I watching? And I'm not sure if I like it, but I've seen them live a couple times. Once at Convergence and once up here, they played at Necto a couple years ago. But yeah, like my favorite thing about Convergence is that, when somebody is in the goth scene for life, they a lot of us get this maturity where, like, there were people at Convergence. There were people on the Convergence committee for number 20 who were kind of on the receiving end of a couple years when I did not have my mental health together and I was a little jerk to everybody for a few years. Like, I want to say between the ages of 22 and 24, maybe just before my 25th birthday, where I was a bona fide little jackass to people. And there were some people who were on the receiving of that. Granted, mostly online, so that might have something to do with being a little bit forgiving, but, they were. Almost everybody who was there, like I said, who was on the receiving end of me being a little jackass was just like, that was years ago. That was like, that was about like, 10, 12 years ago. So, you're good now. We're good now. We can move on with our lives. And, so I don't know. This is definitely going to be archived. So, big shout out to DJ Carry Monster and screen name Yola Rock and Rolla. They're my sweethearts. They're my sweet girl. They're my sweet Chicago girls, and I love them very much. And apparently, I'm done with my socks, so I can move on to. I'm gonna look back because I just answered all of Radically Dark's questions, and let me see where I. Okay. I know I read something a bit before. Uh, 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 uh. Okay. 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 Oh, yep. Okay. I remember that, and there wasn't a whole lot. Uh, oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Romper Suffer was filmed in Melbourne. Wait, same about Savior. Okay, I'm gonna read a lot of these back later because I'm getting a little confused. Hi Angela, Lita, how are you doing? Could not get in just now, but here I am. And I'm glad you're here if you're still here 20 minutes after you said that. Oh god, maybe more like half an hour. So many of us miss Peter Steele, Cherry Berry 48, 98, I don't know. I'm half blind, even with glasses. Ah, I don't think that'll happen. We all have our preferences, and if anyone gives you shit, it's their problem. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm at a point in my life where if somebody gives me shit about just about anything, it really is more their problem than mine. Like I see very little reason, very few things in this last 5 years of my life, especially where I can say I still have to apologize to some person or another. And if they think I do, then I would like them to explain to me why. And, if I disagree, then it's more their problem than mine. I mean, I'm not saying I can't be swayed, but I'm saying that if indeed I can't, then love the Moontop. Oh, I love this. I actually think I picked this up at Whole Foods on a clearance, so for like $5 or something. I love this top. It's got holes in it. Like this here, these holes here, this is why Nigel goes to the groomer to get his nails clipped. And this actually, like, I had a huge gouges up here because Nigel's enormous. Like, that cat is about, like, yay long. Like, he's almost twice Murnau's size by weight alone, but he's also taller and longer. Nigel's huge. He's my big boy. Do you like the 21 pilots? Oh, 21 pilots. I cannot say I have heard them. Now I'm listening to Typo Negative October Rust. That's a great album. Oh, just found Callie. Oh, yay! Yeah, she is great. She's got a great, little educational channel there. It's wonderful. Check her out. Yeah, she is very articulate. Lita Fairy, is that what it says? At some point, when you've got such poor vision, you just kind of learn to take guesses at some things, even if it's not fully legible. Chuck Barris, Gong Show, Ask a Mortician. Oh, yeah, she's wonderful. And ContraPoints is wonderful. Everybody loves ContraPoints. I know it's uncouth to, fanship real people, real live people. But there's something about when ContraPoints and Lindsay Ellis go go back and forth at each other on Twitter. It's just like, if those two end up dating, that would make so much sense to me. The video from Angela you're thinking of, maybe either Goth is Dead or Goth Ain't Just a Pretty Face. Probably. Either way, just watch all of Angela's videos. Same, used to go clubbing a lot in my 20s. Chronic pain. Oh, yeah. Yes, I have survived Detroit. Very much so. It's a zombie apocalypse waiting to happen, but it's wonderful, and we love it. I went to one club and that's all it took. I saw a guy get his throat. Oh, yeah, I don't know. That's some clubs I know are like that. There's this running joke. There was a syphilis outbreak in Detroit. Oh, God. Oh, yeah, that was the same year I moved in with Scott the first time. So that was around 2000, 2001. There was a syphilis outbreak in Detroit. And, of course, everybody in the area is just like, what the hell? Who gets syphilis in this day and age, right? So we joked that it was probably somebody who touched the wall at Harpo's during a Genitorturers concert, because they play there every time for some reason. But that club is so filthy. Like, the only time I've ever gone to Harpo's was to see Guar, and that's just because, okay, first off, I can't think of anybody else in Detroit who would book Guar just, for the fake blood alone and all of that. It's like, nobody else has the insurance, or the budget to clean it up. It's not like Harpo's has a budget to clean it up, but it kind of goes with the decor. But it's like, I'm like, oh, God, especially around the time that, I don't know if she's still doing it, but Jen would often pierce people on stage during shows, or at least that's, what was claimed of some shows anyway. And I'm like, why? Just why go play at Harpo's? That's no. I deal with so many pervs. Yeah, we all deal with pervs. It's part of being all one of those, weird kids in black. There's something beautiful about being dressed to the nines and tensing. Oh, yeah. Oh yeah, that's the uh ah. And that is a question I'm not answering because there's no answer to give. That one right there, because whatever. That's more your problem than mine, hon. If you really, really think it's, something that needs to be answered. My longtime friend, the Falling Dream, who, I know as Kali, and I know them as Kali before that was even legally their name. Uh, and they asked, wank, to which I respond, oh crap, where'd it go? Cat's knocking shit over all the time. Oh wait, it was here? No. Ah, damn it, I lost my penguin. I had a little penguin made out of like, Fimo or something, or Sculpey, I don't know. Damn it. But to that I respond, yeah, no, you can't have my soul. Let's see, Morty FX, MORTIFX, Mortifer, MORTIFERE, Lune, LUNE, asks, what are your favorite movies and bands? And I did list some that I really enjoy earlier in today's live stream. Excuse me. But I would have to say, if I were going to pick favorites, let's see, all-time favorites would have to be Roz Williams, of course, with the 1334 on the knuckles. And, oh, hey! Yeah, if you want to, Gothic Soulflower's in. Oh, one of my favorites. And yeah, if you want to go back and watch this after it's done, I did like the Q&A up until now. Now I'm on the question, like, what are your favorite movies and bands? The reason I'm only doing the Q&A live is because I tried filming it like 2-3 times, and every time either it didn't save right or it didn't load right because it was just so long, or at least that's my guess anyway. So I'm just like, if it's going to take me forever to answer these questions, might as well just do it live where I don't have to save it to my phone. And then what happens? So I would say, let's see, Roz Williams first. Then I would say David Bowie, Nico, Danielle Dax, and Virgin Prunes. And only one of those, that would be Danielle Dax, is technically regarded as an active musician, though the mutual friend of ours between she and myself has who manages her web presence, her website and Facebook page and all of that have said that new music is in the works for about 2 or 3 years right now, which has not been released in any official capacity, and I'm sure she's got reasons for that. I'm sure she does. Combination of mental health and just like finding the time to work as a creative person. I know sometimes you just have to find the time, and especially if you're doing other things to help pay the rent and all of that, then of course it takes time to get any kind of thing recorded, and then you have to be happy with it. And as a musician who is chronically unhappy with his work, I I know what that feels like. So I'm disappointed, but I understand if she's got her reasons. Let's see. We've got Roz Williams, Bowie, and Nico. They are all dead, and all members of the Virgin Prunes are still alive, but they will never reform as Virgin Prunes. And they have gone on at length to people who end up very disappointed about why they will not reform. And and I respect, their decision not to reform. Virgin Prunes was a thing that existed in a time and a place, and that was 1979 through about 1984, I believe, in Ireland, and they are all still based in Ireland, but the place that Ireland was at that time does not exist anymore in quite the same way. So Virgin Prunes was, a thing that came and went, and they're doing other things now. So of the active musicians and bands I would consider my favorites right now, I would say Lacey Rose. She's on Bandcamp. LACI, I believe. Will my thing pull up? will my thing actually load for a change today? It wasn't loading what I wanted to the other day. So let's see. I think that the more we live stream, the more we'll improve. Oh, yeah. That is... Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. Do you remember saying you were going to try to do videos? Yeah, I do need to do one of those. And real quick, where the hell is that thing? Is that this? Please tell me that's this. I had a tab with Bandcamp open up on this. I've been tattooed 18 times, though 2 of them were cover-ups, so I've only got 16 that are visible. Okay, well, I'll find that in a second. So, active musicians I'm really into right now. Lacey Rose, she's on Bandcamp, and off the top of my head right now, I can't remember if it's L-A-C-I or L-A-C-Y. I think it's L-A-C-Y, the more that I think about it. I would call her neoclassical. She's got a lot of piano and voice work, and, you know, she did this one... by length of time, it would probably be called an EP. It's 5 tracks, and it's 5 tracks, different movements, and it is inspired by the life of a muse of Gustav Klimt, and she's just wonderful. Came up in recommendations when I was looking for musicians similar to Damian de Galas. Also amongst my favorite active musicians, I would include Ols, O-L-S. She's a Polish dark neo-folk pagan singer-songwriter, and she performs in the Polish language, but on all of her songs, she does include English translations, so you're not there, you know, sitting wondering why the hell you're hearing you know, these lyrics that sound like squishy marshmallows and you don't understand how they're supposed to be and all that. Her and Lacey Rose are 2 musicians on Bandcamp where, you know, both their most recent releases that I get email notifications about, where I'm just immediately like, take my money. And I would also include Soror Dolorosa and Her Despair, both very classic gothic rock sounds that, you know, also sound very much like themselves, which, you know, is a good thing always. And for a 5th one amongst the active musicians, oh God, I had a thought the last couple of times I was recording this, and damn. Shit. Do you mind? Okay, it looks like